But first, you know him as the foreign editor at The Australian, a friend of this program and someone we can rely on for a comprehensive take on global affairs. But veteran journalist Greg Sheridan is also a very successful international author who's written a number of faith-based books, including the bestseller, God is Good for You. His latest offering, How Christians Can Succeed Today, Reclaiming the Genius of the Early Church, is a powerful call for modern believers to rediscover the courage, the clarity and conviction that defined the first Christians. I'm pleased to say, as I mentioned before, in this Christmas season, Greg Sheridan joins me now. Greg, I'm really pleased as we start to wind down the year, we've got a chance to talk about some of these really big thematics, I think, that matter as much as day-to-day politics matters to you and me, and I know to our audience. Christianity is often mocked or sidelined in the West. And in many other parts of the world, we know that faiths like Islam is celebrated, respected, even protected by the state. Why is it that our society is built on Christian foundations, particularly in the West? We treat Christianity now as a problem to manage rather than a value structure that we need to protect and cherish.
Well, Peter, it's great to be with you, and thanks very much for everything that you do. Look, it is perverse, the attitude to Christianity now in the West. I mean, everywhere else in the world, Christianity is on fire. It's also persecuted, but it's on fire. Massive expansion in China, in Africa, vibrant movements in Latin America. But there has been a bit of a rebirth even in the West against the elites. So the idea of this book is the last time Christians in the West faced what was a kind of pagan culture, and I argue we're a sort of a neo-pagan culture now, was the early Christians. And they were unbelievably successful in gaining the attention of the culture around them and showing the superiority of Christian ideas and Christian beliefs by the way they lived. Now, I don't really have any argument with any other religious tradition, but I think the mad, crazy ideologies in the West now are a sign of the West going crazy once it's lost transcendent belief. And the ideology, the sort of critical theory ideology, puts all people either as oppressors or oppressed, and it's just decided that Christians are oppressors. So no matter what happens, millions of, tens of thousands of Christians will be killed in Nigeria or Pakistan or China or whatever. Most of the Western media won't even report it. And then, the biggest deliverers of social welfare in Australia after the government are the Catholic and Anglican churches. But you'd never know that from anything about Catholics, the way Catholics and Anglicans are treated in the mainstream popular culture. So, and then finally, everything we like in our modern liberalism, human rights, equality of the sexes, feminism, and concern for the environment, everything we like comes straight from Christianity. I've written about that in previous books. So we are in a demented space at the moment in the West, but I think the early Christians have a tremendous number of ideas and experiences that are helpful for us even today.
When I read about what's happening in the West, particularly around Christianity, but we've also seen it happen to our Jewish brothers and sisters and the anti-Semitism that's been a real scourge in recent years, there seems to be a re-emergence, particularly with young people, particularly young men, in relation to Christianity. We see it in America first, and then we saw it obviously very heightened after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Do you think that's sustainable? Do you think that we are seeing a real turnaround here?
Look, it's tremendously exciting, Peter. I'm thrilled by it. I'm absolutely thrilled by it. So I've been a lifelong Christian, always had a lot of trouble leading a Christian life, but never had any trouble believing in Christianity. In the last 15 years, I've been writing about the decline of Christianity in the West. Well, all of a sudden, that decline has stopped. Statistically, according to the Pew organisation in America and YouGov in England and similar studies in Australia, the statistical decline of Christianity has stopped. Two very powerful things are happening at once. There's a big move of intellectuals people like Neil Ferguson on what you might call the centre-right, David Brooks on the centre-left are coming to Christianity, and this astonishing movement to Christianity amongst Generation Z, the Zoomers. Now, in a sense, this fits in with the analysis of my book, because people my age are kind of post-Christian, then you've got the continuing Christians, but people under 28, the Zoomers, they've never met Christianity. They never meet it in popular culture. They never meet it in their schools. You know, our education systems are determined they'll never come across the writings of Paul, the most significant writer in human history. And in a sense, they're living in a kind of a neo-pagan culture which tells them to worship the environment and, you know, to seek instant pleasures on their smartphones and everything. And like the neo-pagan, like the first pagans of the Greco-Roman world, they found that this is terribly unsatisfying. It leads nowhere. It's hollow. In fact, it leads to despair. The biggest cause of death amongst 18 to 44-year-olds in Australia is suicide, which is unbelievable and terrible and shocking. And these people, they are, C.S. Lewis said once, pagans are pre-Christians. They're yearning for meaning. They're searching for something. And for the first time in 2,000 years, I mean, when you study Christianity, you become very pro-woman, because more women have traditionally responded to it than men. But for the first time in history that we can see, more men in the Generation Z cohort are coming to Christian faith than women, although a lot of women are coming too. It's not 100 to 1, it's kind of 55 to 45 or something like that. This is a tremendously exciting development. It's too early to claim victory or anything, but nobody would have predicted this. Everybody was telling us, you know, the new atheists and so on, that Christianity was dead. But, you know, you can't kill God. Guess what?
Hey, I like that we've had a bit of Christmas hope as we end the year. Greg, thank you. I'm going to plug your books. I think this is a terrific present. You've got young people in your life. If you've got someone who's lost their way a little bit but wants to get their life back on track, here's the book, How Christians Can Succeed Today. All good bookstores, and the publisher, of course, Allen and Unwin, will get you that book, and I'm sure if you send it to Greg, he'd happily sign it for you.